Hey again! Today we're covering the dichotomy between simulations and games, because that's what the title of the video says. It'd be kind of weird if we covered, like, baking instead. I'm tempted to talk about baking, just to mess with the video. Maybe later. Anyway, games and simulations, two very different things. This is something that needs to be made absolutely clear for any budding designers out there. The priority of a simulation is to be realistic. The priority of a game is to be fun. Or more specifically, the fun garnered from a simulation stems from it being accurate to reality rather than from it having other qualities that are fun in and of themselves. Oh hey, we can end the video right there. But we're not going to. Let's go into this a bit deeper instead, shall we? So, here's the thing. A game exists to be fun. This seems kind of obvious, yet there are quite a few people out there who will actually contest this fact, insisting games should be used for other weird things like shoving twisted morals or social engineering down people's throats. But fortunately, we don't really have to worry about that much because their games aren't fun, so nobody plays them. Yeah, games have to be fun. I know, it's weird. But the thing is, a lot of people forget that. It's not even rare for some game designer to become enamored with a mechanic they've designed that they think is so awesome and amazing that they get lost in the elegance and effectiveness of the mechanic without realizing that, well, it isn't actually fun. See, as a game designer, your goal is to make your game fun for the players who play the game. Again, this should be common sense and obvious, but again, it's often not. Every mechanic you have, every concept you build, everything you do, consider if it actually brings something good to the game in terms of fun. You can't build a game that's fun based upon all parts that are effective but generate more anti-fun than actual fun than they produce. Wait. Anti-fun? What's anti-fun? Well, I'm glad you asked, Self, because you're the only one talking, and if you didn't ask, we wouldn't cover it. Such is the problem of hosting a show by yourself, I suppose. But anyway, anti-fun is what happens when a game mechanic, or anything else really, specifically detracts from the fun players have while playing. So, it's basically exactly what you'd think it would be. Huh. Okay, so what does anti-fun look like? Well, for example, restricting a character's ability to do stuff. Let's say you stun a character. They can't move, they can't act, they can't do anything for a short little while. Okay, that's not only not generating fun, it actively removes fun, which was already present from the game. So, anti-fun, hence the name. The thing is, it's alright to have anti-fun in a game. In fact, you kind of need to have some of it in there, surprising though that may be. If you lose the game, that's anti-fun. But without the capacity to lose, you can't have a game in the first place, as we covered previously on Fundamental Fantasy 2 episodes ago. So yeah, you have to have some anti-fun, which actively detracts from the fun of the game. But the important part here is that you also need to have more fun total than you have anti-fun. If every single mechanic you build into your game takes more away than it provides, you wind up with a game that isn't actually any fun to play. Yeah, I know, fun is a vague term, and some players will weigh certain things more heavily than others. You can't 100% guarantee your game will be fun for everyone, because things that are fun to some people will be annoying to others. Even so, you can generally make some pretty good predictions about how certain things will affect the overall fun level of the game. So, that example we had a moment ago of a stun effect, one which prevents a character from doing anything, if we make that stun last for a very long, extended period of time, it's going to suck. However, having a stun be available to temporarily knock a character out of channeling a large, powerful ability is needed to make it fair. The balancing act here is that there's fun in counterplay. Having a super powerful, huge attack that you can't do anything about isn't fun. Having a super powerful, huge attack that you can interrupt within reason means the players can have fun preventing it from going off. And they don't feel so bad when it does harm them because they could have stopped it, so it was their own fault. So long as the players feel like they can have an effect on the outcome, it's generally a lot better gameplay than when they feel helpless. Unless you're going for like a horror game where you're trying to make them feel helpless intentionally. Anyway, the point there is that you want to give players counterplay. This goes in reverse as well, though. Enemies have counterplay to the players as well. If the players have a big, huge, high-risk attack, then it's not really high risk if the baddies can't do something to harm the player character while they're doing this high-risk maneuver. Hence, stun, silence, or some other interrupting effect. Yes, it makes the player feel bad that their high-risk attack turned out not to work, but they knew it was high-risk in nature, and that's kind of the point. As such, yeah, there's a bit of anti-fun there, but there's also a lot more potential fun by pulling off some high-risk maneuver than there is in anti-fun by messing it up. As such, your total net value is in the positive, so it's all okay. The problem here is when you get things like a stun which is so brutally punishing that it lasts for turn after turn after turn. The player won't ever want to try their high-risk maneuver because the risks are so great it's not worth bothering. This is what happens when the potential anti-fun outweighs the potential fun. Either the mechanic is never used, home-rolled out by the GM, or it just irritates people constantly. Generally speaking, if there's counterplay in a back-and-forth sort of setup, where the player can do stuff to counter the counter of their attack, like putting up a defensive shield before they do their big blow-up-the-world attack, then you're looking at something that can add way more fun than anti-fun. You get a nice positive net balance. Now, to go back to the thing about simulations versus games, the goal of simulations, as we covered earlier, is to be realistic. Accuracy is where the fun comes in. In a simulation, if you add something which is fun, but which detracts heavily from the realism, the players aren't going to be happy with you. Sure, sometimes you can slip in silly little things here and there, so long as they're relatively minor, but for the most part, you generally want to keep a simulation being accurate. When something's non-realistic, that's basically the anti-fun of a simulation. So, if you're making a World War II simulation, you really want to make sure that you have all the details very accurate and consistent with reality. The fun of such a simulation is acting like You're actual soldiers in actual World War II kind of thing. Anything which kicks you out of that fantasy by reminding you that you're only playing a role, not actually there yourself, because it's so unrealistic that it strains the willing suspension of disbelief, is a problem. As such, we basically wind up with the same situation as we do in games, but it's a bit different because the goal isn't fun, but rather immersion value instead. As always, understand your audience. Understand who you're making the game for and what they want. If you're making a World War II simulation, then there's a specific group of people who like that sort of thing, and you kind of have to cater to their desires. If you build it around catering to an entirely different group who doesn't play that kind of game, the chances are that group you're catering to still won't play the game, and people who do play the game won't find it fun. Yeah, I know, I'm using game and simulation interchangeably at this point. Shame on me, shame. But a simulation is a type of game, is the thing. It just has a very specific definition of what constitutes fun in its case is all. And anti-fun. So, where does this leave us? Well, simply put, when you're making a game, put fun first. If you're making a simulation, put realism first, because that's the fun of a simulation. It's alright to have a little bit that goes against such. Some anti-fun or fantasy can work fine. In fact, you kind of have to add those things. Even a simulation has to have some fantasy elements because, well, otherwise it wouldn't be a simulation of reality. It'd just be reality. Just make sure that there's a reasonable balance and that any mechanic or concept you add into your game adds to the net overall fun as a whole. If you add something that actively detracts more than it provides in return, then you really need to rethink the mechanic pretty much always. Again, to be totally clear on this, because it's so important, and even experienced game designers mess up on this, you can have some anti-fun in your game, but any anti-fun you add absolutely must be immediately counteracted by more fun than its weight in anti-fun. Every single mechanic you add to your game must have a total net benefit. If a mechanic you add doesn't have a positive net gain, then change it until it does. Like I said, we probably could have just ended this video after the first paragraph, but the fact of the matter is, this is such a common problem that it has to be drilled into your heads from the very start. Far too many game mechanics get made which absolutely suck, and the designers just shrug and go, well, we'll make up for it elsewhere. No! Every mechanic, every last one, every single mechanic you make for your game must have a net benefit. Don't make up for it elsewhere, and don't ignore it. Always fix it every time. Tweak it and adjust it and add or subtract parts until it serves the same overall function, but in an enjoyable manner. If you do this consistently, your game will be that much better, whether it's a game or a simulation. And now for the baking section, because I want to mess with the video. It's my video. You can't stop me. Wait, no, don't cut off the audio. And with that, I'm out. I'll see you next time. But seriously, check out the secret message hidden in the end title card's closed captioning for a recipe for tiger butter.